50 years ago today, Muhammad Ali won Olympic gold in Rome. He went on to become an iconic figure in sports and society. Author here, Felix Manuel Rodriguez. The book, Dad, Me, and Muhammad Ali. Today's a big day for you as we speak. You will be in Louisville doing a book signing for this historic moment. Your fascination with Ali, how did it start and why the book?
Wow, first of all, thank you, Stan, for inviting me. I appreciate being on the show. Big Ali fan. In my household, our house was the neighborhood pay-per-view fight. And so as a little child, I remember watching the fights. And Ali was before my time, but I got to admire Ali after as the humanitarian. And just as a boxing fan, got to learn a lot about Ali and just adore the man and a big hero of mine. And in 2004, I had the opportunity to meet him. I took my 9-year-old son, and it was an experience that...
Where up in, where was he?
This was in Harlem, New York. And my son was 9 years old at the time. And it was limited to 200 people. They said Ali wasn't going to sign anything, and he wasn't going to take any personal photos. Well, I brought a book with me and a camera with me, just in case. And we get close to Ali. I tapped my son. I said, Joe, we're never going to meet Ali again. Ask him to please sign your book. My son brings up the book to him and said, Ali, would you please sign it? Ali turns the page. He signs it, Muhammad Ali. He turns the page again. It's a black and white photo of him kissing his mother when he was younger. Wow. He signed that page, Cassius Clay. Wow. He turns the page again and he signed it a third time, Muhammad Ali. Now, he was really reminiscing with this book that we brought, pointing to himself as if to say, that was me. Right. You know?
But and it was stage he knew when he was Ali and when he was Clay, so still as far as his mental cognition is still there. Oh,
absolutely. And he was just really reminiscing. And Ali barely speaks. He has a small whisper. And but he was reminiscing on this book. And finally his daughter said to him, Dad, you got like 200 people online that want to meet you. Wrap it up. You got that book at home. So Ali closed the book, and he waves to my son. And my son knew a little bit about Ali in terms of being a great boxer. He read a book in school called The 100 People Who Changed the World, and Ali was featured in that book. And but he didn't know much about Ali in terms of the humanitarian Ali. And but after that moment, Ali waved to my son to come close. And when he got close, he bear hugged my son, and I pulled out the camera and took a picture. So and the guards didn't bum rush me. I didn't get kicked out. It was
so you got Olympic gold. You got his book signing and the picture. That's a
it was a pretty neat experience, and I knew I had to write about it because it's more of a personal story in terms of being a father. You know, 7 brothers and sisters. I grew up in the housing projects, product of the welfare environment. My mother came from Puerto Rico in '67. Barely speaking a word of English. My dad left my house when I was 5 years old. And being the youngest of the boys, I remember when I played Little League games and I did something well. I look in the stands hoping that my dad was there to cheer me on. He was never there. And so I remember those experiences. And at 16 years old, when I started getting involved in the street life, I started doing knucklehead things. But when I was 19 and my girlfriend told me she was, that she was pregnant, I knew at that point in my life, although I was young and I barely knew how to shave, I said I didn't want to do what my dad did to me. I want to be a better dad. And so I value fatherhood. You know, my son is now 15 years old. He's in high school. And I have a 10-year-old daughter who's in middle school. And I can't be more prouder. And
you work with at-risk kids now, right?
I do. I currently work with the Department of Children and Families. I'm an appointed police commissioner for the city of Waterbury. Professional boxing inspector, and I just feel that public service for me is paramount, and it's a way to show my kids an example that you want to lead by example, and the best way to do it is to give back to the community that you live and work in.
Ali is a great example of that. The story of Ali. So many folks know him as a fighter, but as you know, the full story of Ali was a courageous guy, an American hero who stood up against the war, who took a lot of shots, and for all the people who love him now, they forget that back in the day, he had many enemies and people who thought he was a traitor to his country. And when you talk about Ali, you talk about a guy who has tremendous courage. He's always shown courage, not afraid to take a stand, not afraid to tell you what he thought. And I think for so many folks of that generation who grew up with Ali, that's why he's beloved today. He was a guy who wasn't afraid to take a stand, wasn't afraid to speak truth to power, and stand up for what he believed, despite what anyone else thought.
That's right, Stan. And you think about it, how many athletes today will give up 3 years of their career, in their prime of their career. And not only that, but the millions of dollars that he lost during those 3 years. Not too many. As you know, athletes today are very selfish, and not all, but a lot of them are. And Ali's a great example. And he's a great example because he takes the time with each fan, regardless if they're when we met him, there was older gentlemen, and a lot older, you know, twice, 3 times my age, and he would just shadow box with them. And just his presence. I mean, meeting Ali was meeting like a holy figure. He had this big glow about him.
And he transcends race, cultures, generations. He can get along with older people, young kids. He has that magnetism about him that very few have. Very special guy. The book is called Dad, Me, and Ali. Again, the 50th anniversary of the greatest who won Olympic gold in Rome 50 years ago. Wow, unbelievable, right? The greatest of all time. All right, folks, we want to thank our guests, Lori Giles, Chris Keating, and Felix Manuel Rodriguez. You can send your show comments or requests to, and you can watch us again, folks, at ctnow.com, and friend us on Facebook. Become a fan of The Stan Simpson Show. We're on Twitter, too. Look out for those tweets. Lori Perez and The Real Story are next for the good folks here at Fox 61. Fox Connecticut make that. I'm Stan Simpson. We'll see you next week.